Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and this video is going to be me just talking over this turn 6 kill, just to provide some commentary and some insight as to why we do certain things in this fight. We'll apologize ahead of time. My nephew is crying quite loudly, so if you can hear them, he's been crying for the last 20 minutes, and I've been waiting, so I'm just going to do it now. If you hear him, he's crying. So anyway, this first phase, it seemed like there was a lot going on when we first tried this fight, but once you learn to get it under control, it's quite simple. As you can see, a dark matter bulb just spawned in the center, so we're killing that. The other two dark matter bulbs are starting to expand with their briar thorns, and now we have the vines at the same time. It's really a lot of little things at the same time that all add up, but it's nothing too complicated to deal with, and it's something that for most people will just come with experience. I mean, you can watch a guide as much as you want, but you definitely need some experience in this fight if you want to make it go smoothly. Now, those are the maximum size that a single Briarthorn will grow to, so since they're out on the side, only like half of them are covering the arena. On top of that, we're just dealing with the vines otherwise and just DPSing the boss. You saw that the Black Mage and the Summoner were actually separating from each other, even though, you know, Black Mage should be trying not to move in most cases. For the vines, it's very important that they do move, only because sometimes we've had those vines go completely across the arena. We tried a bunch of different theories on them, but we landed on just both people need to be moving. Now, also, there you go. I just got my mark, and I ran in there. It's actually good for the sake of this video that I ended up in there, because it definitely shows exactly what you do if you have both thorns and the honey pollen mark, whatever you want to call it, the floral trap mark. So here's something where you'll see that a thorn actually does break. Now, I believe I get thorns here and don't move, and I do that on purpose because I know we're going to win. Now, that is a best case scenario where the thorn actually broke without me moving an inch. But we've had situations where the thorns will cover half of the arena, even if people are starting, or even if one person is running away, it just won't get any better. We've also somewhat determined that the distance from the initial person may have some sort of influence on it, but I've stood right next to somebody and ran all the way across the arena and have had it not break before because they didn't move. So I'm a little bit torn. It's probably a little bit of lag, I'd imagine, but probably nothing too major. So we're already in phase 2. As you can see, phase 1 just blows past once you know what you're doing. And we even got 2 dark matter bulbs in the center, and we got a really weird phase transition. So right here, we have the new vines, and there's the new mark. So we don't have any honey. No one's honey glazed yet in this fight, so we're not feeding anything to him right here. He still has 0 stacks, and that is very pivotal that you do. Even if he has one extra stack, not only is the last phase a lot harder, but these spits will hit a lot harder. And I mean, as long as it's not one-shotting people, I guess it's okay, but the less damage, the better, right? So, as you can see, let's see, the Monk got honey glazed, so we're just going to DPS this until he starts Blighted Bouquet. I have the boss focus targeted, and I'm calling out Bouquet. Everybody should have the boss focus targeted for Bouquet. I mean, you can also see the arena kind of lights up and gets polleny, because that's a word, I think. It might be a word. And, but it's still best to just have the boss focus targeted. Now, this is me not being a good bard. I didn't switch to the Dark Matter Bulb until it was too late. He's a little bit hard to see sometimes, but that's really, you really need to be paying attention to that. I mean, the thorns here grew to a size that was manageable. You really want to kill it before it grows more than once. But this is manageable because the Monk can still get in range for his behind and his side combos. That's really the big reason why you absolutely need to get it down before it gets too big, especially if the boss is a little bit off center. It can prevent the Monk from doing his combos properly. So because we fed the honey on that Devourer, no bee spawned here, and he doesn't, and Rafflesia doesn't honey glaze somebody, doesn't viscous emission somebody on the next rotation. So we have a whole rotation here to just DPS the boss, and if there had been a Dark Matter Bulb in the middle here, you know, whichever one's there. So, person marks the back left. That's where the person with the mark is going to go. And we're just going to dodge this like normal, you know. One person's going to get the mark, and everybody else with the vines breaks them and gets away. Just remember, the front of the boss is safe. Like, a lot of people don't remember that you can actually move in front of the boss and he won't cleave you while you're breaking that specific set of vines while the floral trap is out. Remember that, because it gives you a lot more room to work with. Now, this is where most groups really need to be careful. I know DPS is a big deal, but if the boss is about to push phases and you have somebody who just got honey glazed, you absolutely need to prioritize stopping DPS and getting that honey devoured before the next phase. Because if you have an extra bee every minute in the next phase, it's just unnecessary stress that you don't need to deal with. It's either that or the boss has one less stack. I would prefer the boss have that extra stack and you just have to, you know, deal with it. So at this point, the boss is good to go. I have the honey mark above my head, and the person in front of me, the monk again, is getting eaten. Where the summoner is very risky right there on the side. It looks like he just barely avoided getting eaten. You really want to avoid being anywhere near what resembles the front of the boss. Even if you're like, oh, I think I'm okay. No, just take a step behind the boss. Take an extra step. Now again, phase 2, very quick. Remember, this is in full item level 90 gear. I think we have maybe some Moogle necklaces, and the Black Mage has like an I-10 caster neck piece or something. But this is in basically full I-90 gear with I-95 weapons. So that's DPS that's very feasible in the gear that you can get from the previous content. Now, we're in phase 3, and he did Leaf Storm. Now, Leaf Storm goes off every so often, but the damage is barely noticeable. Even with 2 stacks, it does about 400 to 600 damage. There it is again. It just goes off constantly for the rest of this phase. Now, this is the part you absolutely need to have a lot of DPS on. If you're going to do the strategy that requires you to get a slug down to low HP, let it eat all 3 slimes, DPS, you need to make sure you have A single target limit break, and B, a lot of high DPS on top of that. So make sure if you're a summoner, you're dotting him prior to him going down, prior to him eating the honeys, and just make sure you're ready to just destroy that thing, because if you don't do it in the 10 seconds, you will wipe. The first week we did it with just the raw burn strategy, so we know it's possible to do it full item level 90. We do use potent poison potions with that just to add on some DPS, but those were unnecessary. So other than that, once you have that slug down, this is really a basic phase. Break your vines and group up for Rotten Stench is really all there is to this phase. I even run to the side front of the boss, even if Rotten Stench is coming, just because I'm already so close in melee range. I don't really have the choice to move forward, but still stay in range of Rotten Stench. And besides, you have more than enough time to break the vines that way, and still get back behind the boss for Rotten Stench. So here's another Rotten Stench. One person's off to the side and doesn't get hit by it. Not a big deal. 8,000 damage split 5 or 6 ways is pretty non-existent. It doesn't really matter, especially if you have Sucker and you have Sacred Soils and any stone skins that might be out. It really trivializes the damage that comes out from Rotten Stench. And even though Leaf Storm comes out around the same time, not a big deal. So he's casting Leaf Storm again right here. And we pretty much know that we have to end this fight soon, because once he casts Leaf Storm again, new slugs will spawn, and the off tank will have to pick these up again. And he's going to do new acid rains right here. So this is something we actually didn't prepare for. You could prepare for this acid rain a lot better by not placing them right there. You can do that a lot smoother besides placing them right there. We actually had an accident where the off tank was hitting the slugs to get aggro on them, and he actually, and you're going to see in a second, he actually damaged it enough to the point where it ate a slug. And I couldn't see, that was a situation where the other person not moving, I couldn't get rid of my vines. So it actually blows up right here, and we're supposed to wipe, but the tank hit hollowed ground right before that happened, and Dots killed it. So not a clean kill because we messed up there towards the end. That's why you probably just want to kill off the other 2 slugs, because we kept them alive in this kill. You kill off the other 2 slugs so that doesn't happen. And then when the new 3 slugs come out, the off tank can just re-pick those up. It will definitely prevent that from happening again. But I'm actually kind of glad it happened, so I could show you more intensely what happens if you don't kill that big slug in time after it eats all 3 of the slimes. So it still requires some decent DPS. It's pretty tight on the healing. For tanks, it's not that bad until the final phase with Swarm. I mean, your standard tank swaps, which, you know, have become pretty much a standard as a tank mechanic here, the increased physical damage taken. And overall, it's not too bad of a fight once you've gotten it down. There are some RNG aspects to it that you definitely have to be able to react to. There's a lot of reaction-based stuff in this entire patch. So be ready for those. Be ready to break your vines. Be ready to just don't run around like a chicken without a head. You really need to stay calm and composed even when you're taking damage. It's just, if you don't do that, the fight just becomes a lot harder. Doable, but a lot harder. And as people get more gear this fight, a lot of these mechanics will be trivialized with more gear. I can tell you that right now. You can skip a lot of extra phases, like having to hold DPS for that second honey. That's something that even in another week from when this video comes out probably won't be an issue. You probably will just always get 1 honey as long as all of your DPS stayed alive and are doing somewhat decent DPS. So anyway, guys, Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helped give you a little bit more perspective into the fight. As you can see, I got double aiming drops. I can't complain. I messed up a few times in this fight, but I was trying to get some good footage for showing what happens when you mess up. So I have other videos that I did that on purpose. This time I was just, it's been a long night. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Be sure to check out the actual guide that sent you to this video. I'll put a link in the description below. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. If you have any questions about this fight or any of my other videos, be sure to ask me on there. And I also stream on Twitch, where you can just come to kill some time, maybe, if you're doing Atma farming or something like that, and just have a good time, man. It's fun. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.